Hi there, I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Gothi of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas. I'd like to welcome you to the Raven's Call. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects. Just depends on what strikes my fancy. This is the first in a series of videos I'm going to be doing on the Heathen Soul Complex. Now, this comes with a certain preface. I have to put this out there that I've done a lot of research in the Soul Complex. This is actually, my understanding of the Soul Complex comes as a result of an oath fulfillment I did for my tribe years ago, wherein I oathed to complete so many papers during a year, one of which being an APA-style, full-on, hardcore research type paper. And the one that I chose to do that on was the Soul Complex. So I took everything I could get my hands on, all the articles, all the Eddas, the sagas, the whatever part of the lore, whatever part of the books that people have written on it. If anybody had touched on the Soul Complex at that point in time, and I had access to it, could speak the language it was written in, or had a translation thereof, I read it. And the one thing that came to, the one realization that I came to in all of that is that no two people see the Soul Complex the same way. Just today, as it was ages ago, the soul is a very personal thing, and not everybody sees it the same way. Not everybody codifies it the same way. So, little disclaimer here. What you're going to see in this video series is how I see the Soul Complex, not how anybody else does. I also need to preface this with, I am not a Reconstructionist heathen. I am heathen because I believe in the gods, because I believe in the Vatir, my ancestors, and my folk, my tribe. I am heathen because I'm heathen, a living modern heathen. I'm not a hardcore Reconstructionist heathen. Not to say I don't have Reconstructionist elements. I do my research, I look at how the ancestors did things, and I try to use that to inform where I'm going. But I am one that believes that while they had a lot of things figured out, they didn't have everything figured out, and that we have had some developments philosophically, theologically, and whatnot over the years that I wish we could go back and have the conversations with them and see where things would jive. But there's things we're learning every day. I think we're getting to know the gods better as we go along, and I think we're getting to know our souls and everything around us a little better as we go along. So, that being said, those with a more hardcore Reconstructionist attack on this are going to have some issue with how I look at this. That's fine. I completely expect that, completely understand that. I anticipate that everybody that watches this video is going to have their own opinion on it. That's fine. I completely get it. So don't worry about that. We'll go with what we got, all right? Just keep in mind as we go through, this is how I see things, and this is how I've researched how a bunch of different areas looked at heathenry. I've looked at the soul. I've looked at how different groups, individuals, both then and now, look at the soul. And I've developed, based on all of these theories, my views on the Soul Complex, borrowing heavily from these other aspects as well. You'll see some of the elements of that as we go along. So just keep in mind, this is me, and it is hardly the only way to look at this. This is just the way that it makes sense to me. And you guys need to know this for future videos when I go off into some of my tangents, why I'm going off on this particular tangent on how this particular aspect of the soul is more active during this kind of ritual, and why, and why I reference certain Soul Complex elements with relation to psychology and abnormal development, or psychopathies, things like that. There's a reason for that, and that's because that's how I see the world. So this is how I see the soul. Now, one thing that I did find in common throughout our ancestors is that it did not seem to be that they held a binary view, this dichotomy of the soul, as it were. There wasn't the body-soul division that we see in a lot of Western society, especially in a post-Judeo-Christian society. What I see is, in my research and in my own delving into things, is a more complex situation, hence why I refer to it as the Soul Complex. It's a number of pieces, a number of parts. Some are different areas that influence one another, but all are tied together. And for the entity that we know as human to exist, all of these parts need to work together. And without the pieces working together in harmony, things go wrong. Or they just don't go at all. It depends on which pieces. A dear friend of mine who passed several years ago, Rod Landreth, a Gothi in the Midwest, fantastic guy, wonderful mind. I miss him dearly. He used to say that, because he helped me working on this particular essay as well, and he used to say that the Heathen Soul Complex is like an engine. Every single part of it is its own thing that all comes together to drive the vehicle that is the human. And if any one of those pieces is out of sync, things begin to go wrong in the engine. And if the major ones quit working, get out of sync, if there's one of those major parts that doesn't work anymore, then the entire engine shuts down. So now you may have a perfectly good manifold, but if all your pistons are broken in half, then what good is any of the engine going to do you? That kind of thing. We're talking about the soul complex is all interrelated. Every element plays off of another element and builds in such a way that it's synergistic almost. It's greater than the sum of its parts. So this is how I see the soul complex, and as I go through, I'm going to break it up into different sections, all right? I see the soul complex as encompassing 4 main areas, okay? The first area that we're going to discuss is going to be the area of the mental aspects of the soul, okay? So there's the mental, and then there is the spiritual. That'll make a little bit more sense in a little while. There's the mental, the spiritual, the physical, like the physical body. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here. The physical body, and then what I refer to as Orlog. Now, do not mistake this to say that I'm saying Orlog is a piece. Okay? These are pieces of the soul complex that do not fit neatly into these other 3 areas, but are tied to the luck, the Orlog, the inheritability. There's an inherent inheritance aspect to these elements. And so I tie them together in what I call Orlog because they are inherited as part of the Orlog in some elements, or at least the Orlog impacts these things as the Orlog impacts everything. So I'll get to that one last. But that's a deeper subject. We'll get to that one. Each of these videos is going to be separate. I'm going to encompass each of these areas in its own video. The next video that I'll put out will be the mental section, so we'll break that down. It's going to be kind of complex. I do give a warning. I bounce back and forth between Old Norse and Old English terminology because the Old Norse aspect, the view of the soul, was not as complex as the Old English view of the soul. And there's a lot of elements from the anglo-saxon side of things and later developments that utilized Old English terminology. So modern views on the soul that utilize Old English and Old Norse terminology. These kind of elements, which I still consider to be perfectly valid. I know some people will call them UPG or made up, but that's okay. All of this was the insight of our ancestors at one point in time, so I do not devalue insight. So anyway, I do bounce back and forth between these terms. I'll try to explain them as best I can as I go along. And then at the end of all of this, once I've got these videos out, or once I get it started, something in there, somewhere along the way, I'll release that paper that I wrote on the Soul Complex that kind of sums all of this up on Word Weaver Productions on Facebook, so you guys can go and take a look at it if you want to. It's actually already out there on my personal page. Some of you are friends with me, most of you are not. And just a heads up, I don't friend everybody that I see on Facebook that requests me. I do try to, point you guys over to Word Weaver Productions because that's where the actual conversation goes. My personal page, I do a lot of things. I do this channel. I do the ETH thing, which is East Texas Heathens, just a local meetup group I host there in East Texas. I also handle a lot of stuff for my own personal tribe, the Ridgar folk. And some of that on there, some of it on Messenger, all over the place. And then, of course, I've got my own other things that I'm interested in. I play Pokemon Go, all kinds of other stuff that I've got communities involved with on Facebook. So, that being said, if you friend me on Facebook and I don't just hit, approve, There's a reason, okay? Don't take it personal. I'll probably try and message you and say, hey, check out Word Weaver Productions. That's where the actual convo goes. That's all about this, and it's the better networking tool. Now, some of you I end up friending just because we have some conversations go back and forth, and I really enjoy that. So I'm much more likely to friend people that I've had interactions with. So if you want to end up on my friends list, it's better to message me than just to friend me out of nowhere. Anyway, so we're going to rock on. We're going to go forward, and then the following videos will be longer than this. But essentially, we're going to cover how Eric Sjerven sees the soul. Not how anybody else sees it, but how I see it. And then you can take that information, develop your own thoughts, your own views, do the research, get out there and read. There's tons of stuff to read. I can give you a list of stuff all day long about where there's some great sources out there on soul. Get out there and find it. Look around and read everything you can get your hands on, and then decide how do you view things. But at the end of these videos, you should at least be able to understand where I'm coming from when I go off on a tangent about how this particular aspect of the soul is involved in this kind of ritual. So there you go. If you like these videos, if you like today's video, if you like anything that I do on the channel, please give a like to the videos down below. Give the old thumbs up. I see you guys hit like on Facebook. I see tons of views. Like at the time of this recording, Heathery 101's up to something like 340 some odd views. And so tons of views, but this only got like 22 likes. So I see that you guys are watching the videos, and some of you are hitting like. I need you guys to hit like. I need you to comment. I need you to let me know you actually like these things, so that I know what to continue doing, what areas I can do better and what not. You know, I need to know which videos are striking your fancy and which ones you're kind of bored with. So let me know. Comment on the sections below. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Hit subscribe. This will keep you up to date as this Soul Complex series comes out. Hit the little bell icon down in the corner, whichever side it is. This flips the video. So hit the bell icon, the notification icon, because I have discovered just hitting subscribe doesn't land everything in your subscription feed. You actually need to hit the notification bell if you want to see everything that comes out on a channel. YouTube algorithms are getting ridiculous, and it's becoming more and more difficult for us to get all of our content out there for you guys to see. A lot of times things go unnoticed and don't get discovered until somebody finds it in a search. So just kind of putting that out there. You can follow the group Word Weaver Productions on Facebook. That's Word-Weaver Productions. It's where most of the conversation goes. I pop questions up there for you guys. I bounce ideas off of y'all. I know there's a lot of you guys that are subscribed to the channel that are not on it because it's got something like 40 people in the group, and there's, at the time of this viewing, 109 subscribers. So, which, by the way, congratulations, guys. We hit over 100 subscribers. Awesome. Love it. Thank you, guys. I love it. You guys are awesome. Wouldn't be doing this without you guys. So, jump on the Facebook group, Word Weaver Productions. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at E_Sjerven. That's E_SJERVEN. And then you can email me at esjerven@gmail.com if you got any questions. In the meantime, hang in there, guys. We're in for the long haul. This is going to be a fun one, I think. So, hey, have a good day.